Hello, welcome to this update for the severe weather. So let's see what's happening in those areas for Kansas and Oklahoma. So we have a moderate risk now issued this morning. So it does show across spots of northern Oklahoma into Kansas and also much of central southwestern Kansas. There's this enhanced risk as well from Colorado to Missouri and spots of Texas and Oklahoma too. And there's this light risk in the marginal and also a marginal spots of the East Coast and into the Mississippi Valley, spots of the Ohio Valley. So we do have a 5% tornado threat, spots of Oklahoma into Texas and especially Kansas, most of Kansas with this 5% tornado threat, and also this 2% from Colorado to Missouri. There's also 2% on the East Coast, so be aware in those areas as well. There's wind, the biggest threat for 45% in Kansas and Oklahoma. That's basically the moderate risk. So stay safe in those areas. Please be careful. This might be similar to a derecho, those winds, so please stay safe. And there's the 30%, the 15%, the 5%, and all the 30% and 45% is hatched for some hurricane force winds possible. So please stay safe. Hail is also very big, especially in Oklahoma and into Kansas, some 30% chance for very large hail, and also the hatch goes into the 15% for some 2-inch plus hail. So stay safe in those areas, be careful, and there's also some 5% wind spots of the central into the east coast. So be careful. So severe thunderstorms producing numerous to widespread damaging winds, scare large hail, some isolated 2-inch plus in diameter hail, and a few tornadoes are expected today in parts of central southern plains to the lower mid Missouri Valley. The greatest threat for destructive wind gusts up to 70 to 100 mile per gust. 70 to 100, that's very serious. Please stay safe. It's forecast across parts of Kansas into northern Oklahoma. So stay safe in those areas. Please be careful. So let's see here very quick because this might help you. If you can skip if you want. So central southern plains to lower mid Missouri Valley, a small but intense bow echo moved across southeastward across parts of Kansas overnight, should continue to weaken this morning across northeast Oklahoma, but in the short term isolated threat for severe winds continue. The cluster dissipates across eastern Colorado. Occasional severe hail may occur marginal supercells for another hour or two before additional weakening occur. The net effect of this overnight and early morning convection on severe potential across southern plains remains uncertain, but a trailing outflow boundary from the decaying MCS now in northeastern Oklahoma may prove instrumental in focusing significant severe potential this afternoon and evening. So for you, this means that there still might be changes in the forecast. So just stay tuned to the links in the description and be aware. But now, convected the development evolution remain uncertain later in the day, but still it appears like the initially high base, the thunderstorms would develop along higher terrains central Colorado this afternoon, and then spread east-southeastward over the adjacent high plains through the evening. Much of eastern Colorado vicinity will be in the low level in the post-frontal regime, but the steep mid-level lapse rates and sufficient low-level moisture should support the development of moderate instability. Strong deep layer shear should foster supercells initially with associated threat mainly for large trisolate very large hail. Some upscale growth may eventually occur with these activities. It spreads to western Kansas this evening along with intense threat for severe damaging winds further east into central and eastern Kansas, Missouri. Severe potential remains highly uncertain with a myriad of possible solutions offered by various high-resolution guidance. In general, current expectations are for increasing threat and numerous to potential widespread severe winds across parts of Kansas to northern Oklahoma, with one or more intense clusters potentially developing in tandem with strengthening low-level jet this evening across southern central plains. Significant severe wind gusts of 75 miles plus remain possible with a few tornadoes with sustained supercells along the boundary. This evening's low-level shear strengthens and overall severe probabilities have been expanded southward across parts of Oklahoma, Texas Panhandles, and north central Oklahoma in an attempt to account for where the outflow boundary may be present this afternoon and evening. Additional adjustments to the risk areas are likely in later outlook updates pending additional observations and model data. So, for you, this means that the outlooks later today, like in a few hours, might have changes here. They might expand this a little further east or further south, or change the area of the enhanced trees depending on what happens with the high resolution model. So it's still not 100% certain what will happen, but just stay tuned. Like, check this website. The link is in the description below. If you're watching this, check it there. And if there are any major updates, I'll put it in the YouTube posts. But I don't expect any major updates. But please stay safe in those areas. Be careful. There's the her, and it currently shows at the MCS that went through Kansas last night and still weakening this morning. And this MCS as is part of what changed the forecast a bit. It's making it slightly difficult and uncertain. But this goes this weekend, shows a few more storms northern Kansas, and then those storms start firing in Colorado near the higher terrain. So a few storms near Denver or Colorado Springs. This goes and they grow later. The herd also has the ones in eastern Kansas growing as well and becoming stronger eventually. It has this area of storms south central Kansas later in the evening, about 6 o'clock, growing more. And it might be that line, this line right here, that produces those significant damaging winds, because this goes and after that it clears out. So these storms, they might happen like central to southern Kansas, Oklahoma later in the evening, might be the big ones, especially later in the middle of the night, this MCS into Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas as well. So stay safe in those areas, especially those initial storms and the damage winds, and even the 5% tornado threat. So stay safe, and many of these might have some very large hail. So be careful the hail too. So here the herd does have those areas, some 50s to some 60s dew points this afternoon across Kansas, spots on Nebraska, but especially some 70s dew points far southern Kansas into Oklahoma, and thus reach as far north as reached as some low 70s dew points for those storms. And the Cape is a similar story. It reaches close to 4,500 joules per kilogram, even like to 5,000. I see some purple there. So there will be a lot of instability for those initial storms there. So stay safe in those areas, but later it does diminish a little bit as those storms cross by. And but stay safe, especially if they fire around the southern half of Kansas. There'll be a lot of instability. Some more Cape in Nebraska, more spots too, but the very rich moisture is across southern Kansas into Oklahoma. So stay safe in those areas. And the hurricane does have some potential max wind gusts. The hurricane doesn't have anything looking so crazy right now, but it does have a few spots in Kansas close to Wichita or near Missouri, more than 75 mile per gust, even to 60, like 70, in the low 70s mile per gust in eastern Colorado with a few storms. So stay safe in those areas. The zero Z her was absolutely different. It did have a storm coming from Colorado south towards Texas. So this run showed like some 80 or 85 mile per hour plus gusts in Kansas and spots of Nebraska, but it took this as far south as Texas. The zero Z her. The 60 also had like this storm going from Colorado towards Oklahoma and Texas with more than 80 mile per gust, and a lot in Kansas into Missouri too. But the 12C, the most recent, is showing less than the past run. So there's less wind potential in this last run in the her, but we'll still keep watching. So be aware. But if I were you, I would focus on the official forecast there for destructive winds because these models keep changing all the time. But there's the name here as well. Shows like spots of Texas into Oklahoma. It does show some 70 to 80 mile per gust, a few spots, the Texas Panhandle into Oklahoma. So if you are in those areas, be careful too. But the main risk is like in Kansas, but these models are kind of showing stuff in Texas too. So be aware those areas, and especially northern Oklahoma. So stay safe and does show here like it has some initial storms in Colorado, the her this goes, but then it doesn't have much in Kansas. It shows further into eastern Kansas and Missouri later, but this might change still. So we'll keep watching those areas and stay safe. Focus here on this official forecast and make preparations for those storms. So stay safe and shows like there's here the significant tornado parameter does show later this afternoon. The herd does increase across southern Kansas, a little bit close to northern Oklahoma, so it does have some higher parameters, even a few spots to like 5.7. So be aware those areas, and that areas the area with a lot of cape too and moisture. So be aware, but the exact position of the storm can't be known exactly yet, but if the storms touch this cape and instability, especially like there's some sustained supercells, they might produce tornadoes there. So stay safe in those areas. There's like the updraft list, it does show here like on the 12th until Thursday. So the latest herd does have like the worst storms through eastern Kansas into Missouri. Has some Colorado too, some big ones, and northern Oklahoma. So this latest her is not directly aligned with the latest forecast. That points more into like central southwestern Kansas, but you never know. This might change still. But just be aware, those areas in this specific map here indicates chances for very large hail. So be careful those areas, and like there's the name too with the supercell composite, and it does have some high values across northern Oklahoma, there into Kansas, close to some 55, even in some areas, the supercell composite. So the environment is very favorable if the storms go into those areas of southern Kansas and Oklahoma. So stay safe in those areas and be careful, especially like have ways to receive warnings, many ways, and warn others. So stay safe. Let's see if there's something else here. But yeah, stay safe in those areas and warn others. So here, this is Wednesday. It does show a few spots in Oklahoma into Missouri and Kansas, slightly more low level shear, but nothing too crazy. But especially like Kansas into Missouri, Oklahoma, slightly more wind shear too. So we'll keep watching, but I encourage you to stay tuned here. The future outlooks that it might be different depending on what comes out. So be careful in those areas. It does show here in Canada as well, spots in southern Alberta into Saskatchewan, a severe storm or two possible, especially in Alberta into Saskatchewan. So stay safe in those areas during the night. Still a storm or two, but nothing crazy. And tomorrow does show more storms in the same areas there across Saskatchewan, spots in Alberta. So stay safe in those areas. Like in Ontario, slightly stronger storms through spots in eastern Ontario and more storms there. So be aware. And still, day two doesn't show much, but especially day three in southern Ontario might be more severe storms for like Thursday. So be aware those areas. And Quebec does show day two a few more storms too. So be aware those areas. We do have two areas of moderate risk for excessive rainfall, especially in Kansas with those storms and in Pennsylvania into northern West Virginia. So stay safe in those areas. Be careful with flooding, especially in the already flooded grounds of West Virginia there. So stay safe and like warn others to be careful with the flooding. Shows the slight risk across the plains into the Midwest and more. The slight risk goes all the way down to Tennessee as well, the marginal. So day two is still marginal in the Midwest for some excessive rainfall and spots of the mid-Atlantic too. Day 3 shows this marginal from Tennessee to Maine. Be aware, day 4 in Montana again, spots of the upper Midwest. Day 5 further east. So we'll keep watching those areas. And just next 2 days, it shows close to 4 inches in Kansas, some 3 inches and a half in a few spots. So especially stay safe there with flooding from those storms in Kansas. So stay safe. Day 1 through 7 does show a few spots more in the Midwest, a few spots in Iowa, close to 3 inches, Pennsylvania as well, a few spots there, and especially in Canada there shows some spots even to like 4 inches. That's like some 70 to 90 millimeters in a few spots from those storms. So be aware in Alberta, Saskatchewan, stormy pattern, and also into eastern Canada. And if you can see here on this map, Mexico is showing already more than 10 inches. That's like 200 millimeters in some isolated spot. So if you are there, like, please stay safe. That hurricane is no joke. Please warn others there immediately. We'll have a video just for Mexico coming after this one. So we wanted to make a separate video to keep things more clear, like the hurricane and the severe weather. So stay tuned if you are there. It's coming after this one. So here in the overview does show these key messages about the heat wave coming as well. So the first significant heat wave of the season, the highest temperatures of the season so far expected to begin Friday across the plains, then expand this weekend to parts of the Midwest and the Great Lakes. The heat's likely to shift and persist across the Ohio Valley, Northeast Mid-Atlantic states late this weekend into next week. So major heat risk poses danger. Daily high temperatures will be well into the 90s. Warm overnight temperatures dropping only to the mid-70s in the Great Lakes. Today's coast will offer little to no relief for those without adequate with reliable cooling. The first significant heat wave of the year can pose more danger. So extreme heat persists into next week. There's a high risk, 60% chance of extreme heat anticipated early next week because parts of the Ohio Valley as well as to New England, Mid-Atlantic. So does show here that high risk of extreme heat and shows also some extreme heat risk Illinois into Missouri and major across the Midwest Friday to Sunday. So stay safe in those areas too. And yeah, So be aware, especially the flash flooding and everything. So stay safe and believe it or not, those below average temperatures will offer a slight chance for some very light snow in the highest elevations in the northwest by day 4 and day 5. So be aware, nothing too crazy. So let's see here. There's like this heat now, and already shows today day one to like 103 in Texas, 109 in New Mexico, and more than 110 in Arizona. So here for Texas, is showing close to 110 spots of Texas. So please stay safe. Some 90s in Oklahoma towards southern Kansas as well. So stay safe in those areas. Does show further into Arizona, those areas to 110, still 113, and nearly 117 degrees in a valley in California. That's similar to Death Valley, which might be to 100 118 or something, very similar. So if you are in those isolated spots, please stay safe to 111, southernmost Nevada, and a few spots in Utah, some 90s. So please be careful in those areas. And there's during the night, shows still hot in the south, but slightly lower there in the Rockies. So shows day two still to 114 in the southwest, 109. So stay safe in those areas. Please be careful, especially in California and Arizona, more than 100 southern Texas, some 90s in the southeast. So please stay safe. Does show like, let's see here again, for Wednesday afternoon, tomorrow shows nearly to like more than 120 in that valley. So please be careful. 114 to 112 in California and Arizona, to 110 in Nevada, still close to 101 in New Mexico. So stay safe in those areas. Please be careful. There's still like Thursday morning shows a few spots slightly less in the northwest, some 50s, 40s there in the mountains. Day 3 shows like for Thursday afternoon 115 in Arizona again. So the heat persists there. If you are in Phoenix, please stay safe, like stay cool no matter what. Find the best ways to stay extremely cool. So please be careful. And there's like 100 spots in northern Utah in the valleys, and some 90s in the plains, and some higher 90s on the east coast as well. So be careful in those areas. And the show here again to like 115 in Arizona, might be even some local spots to more 116, like in that valley to 121 or more. So please be careful. 105, a few spots in Utah. So stay safe. There's like day 3 shows Friday, spots of Friday morning, spots of the Cascades, slightly colder, and still some 70s in the south during the night. For Friday afternoon, up to 107 in the plains, especially Kansas into Nebraska, Colorado. So stay safe in those areas. Be careful. Stay hydrated, especially, and shows more spots in the southwest to 112. So there's day 4 during the night. That shows some 30s in the Cascades, Sierra Nevada, slightly colder there in the northwest, but still this heat dome persists in the Midwest and central areas. So there's day 5 during the day, Saturday afternoon, still to 105 in Kansas, into Nebraska and Colorado, and some 90s across the east, 90s the Midwest, and spots of the southwest, close to 100 still, but way better. Does show this very big contrast between those much below average temperatures and above average temperatures in the Midwest, and those colder 30s, even close to high 20s Fahrenheit there in the mountains by Sunday. So be aware those areas. Sunday afternoon, some 100s in the plains, southwest, and 90s basically all over the southeast and Midwest, there into the northeast, a few spots mid-Atlantic. So Monday, the 23rd, still shows some 30s in the mountains there, slightly colder, and some 70s during the night in the Midwest and those areas, and even close to 100 in Maryland next Monday afternoon. So 90s. So yeah, stay safe in those areas and the Southwest as well. So stay safe. Slightly breezier or slightly gustier winds. A few spots in New Mexico today. A few other spots in Colorado. So be aware. And I didn't show day two yet for the severe weather. So I hope you are still watching because let's see here. So day two does show for Wednesday tomorrow. Enhanced risk already from Missouri to Michigan, so please be careful in those spots as well. The slight risk from Texas to Michigan and marginal risk in spots in North Dakota around the slight risk and also in the Mid-Atlantic. So the tornado threat is already a big 5% across the Great Lakes and in the Midwest into the plains, and this 2%. So this 5% should be watched closely. It's a big area already, so be careful. Some tornadoes, wind to the 30% and 15 and 5% in the other spots. So stay safe in those areas. Be careful. There's like for hail, 15 and 5%, so still some hail. And strong to severe storms expected Wednesday, parts southern Missouri, northeastern into lower Michigan, damaging winds, isolated hail, a few tornadoes will be possible. More isolated severe storms may develop across southern plains. So stay safe in those areas, be careful. And in general, like the extensive antecedent convection results in some uncertainty regarding synoptic details on Wednesday. In general, convectly enhanced mid upper level troughs for Gashmere across parts the mid upper Mississippi Valley to the Great Lakes. In conjunction with this trough, deepening surface low move from parts of Iowa into northern Missouri towards Michigan Wednesday night. To the east, one more weak mid-level shortwave troughs may move across parts of mid-Atlantic and northeast, along with the northwest periphery of the upper level ridge across the Carolina coast. So yeah, be careful those areas for tomorrow, especially some wind and tornadoes and hail. So find ways to receive warnings. There's day three, still shows the slight risk from North Carolina to Maine, and not to Maine, to like New Hampshire and Vermont. And this marginal risk goes all the way to northern Maine, the marginal risk. This marginal in the northern plains and upper Midwest. And as you can see here, this slight risk goes well into Canada. So if we were to extend this map, you reach deep into Quebec. So be aware for Thursday in Canada as well. 5-15% probabilistic and strong to potential severe thunderstorms forecast from Thursday parts of New England to the mid-Atlantic Carolinas. So stay safe those areas because an unseasonably deep mid-upper level troughs is forecast to move across parts southeastern Canada and adjacent parts northeastern corners on Thursday. Conjunction with this trough, surface cyclones expect to move from southeast Ontario to southern Quebec. Training cold front moves through parts northeast New England to mid-Atlantic and to the west. The upper level ridge continues to build across southern Rockies into parts central Great Plains. Multiple mid-level shortwave troughs expect to move from the Great Basin to the northern Rockies and high plains along the periphery of the ridge. So stay safe in those areas for Thursday still. So be careful in those areas. And if my eyes are working correct, they just have updated this. So nine minutes ago there was an update. So let's see what changed. So here it doesn't seem like nothing changed yet on this image, but here you can see the moderate risk is further into Oklahoma. So it's half in Kansas, half in Oklahoma, and like many southern Kansas. And there's the smaller enhanced tree, so the enhanced tree has got much smaller, and there's the slight risk as well. So still be careful in those areas. I'm not sure if they updated the description yet, but let's see. So yeah, it's a similar thing in those areas. And like I explained before, that the higher instability further south and everything. So stay safe in those areas. And like the fire threat is a critical thing as well, because those breezy conditions and like and dry conditions as well. So be careful in New Mexico, into Arizona, and there's the elevated as well. So stay safe. That fire threat today, don't burn anything and be careful. There's elevated for Washington, Oregon. Day 2, day 3 through 6 are still critical. So day 4, there's like a critical spots of Utah into Nevada and California, northern Arizona. Day 5 critical in Utah, Colorado, spots of Nevada again into Arizona and New Mexico. And day 6 from Arizona to southern Wyoming are critical. So please be careful in those areas. I think this is the critical, because they'll be de-elevated, of course, but this is a unusually big area. But yeah, be careful in those areas. So stay safe and because especially because those high temperatures and dry conditions, those dry fuels, and stay safe in those areas. Be careful. And across northern Mexico might have some fire danger too with those higher temperatures. So we do have those red flag warnings even in Alaska and spots of the southwest, the flood advisories across West Virginia, spots of Pennsylvania to Ohio, more spots there, and Kansas. Some flash flood warnings, alright? And the extreme heat warnings to Southwest, heat advisories in Texas, New Mexico. These heat advisories might eventually expand further this weekend. And still those weird flood watches in Alaska, maybe because of some rivers there. So be careful, those areas still. And just so you can see here, there's one trough in spots of Canada now, some lower pressures, and there's this low pressure building the plains as well. So there's one surface cyclone to Quebec with some storms, and this other surface cyclone starts building into the Midwest Wednesday. Those storms into Canada, possible severe storms in Ontario and Quebec Wednesday into Thursday. So stay safe in those areas, and then this goes away. But still showing storms possible next week across Canada and the Midwest Saturday. So this is Saturday. Still shows some storms because there might be this wide low pressure after this ridge, and more rains and storms Sunday, spots of Canada possibly. And yeah, so we'll keep watching. But those higher pressures still dominate that heat wave in those areas. So stay safe. Show still this heat wave northern Mexico too. So be careful in those areas, especially like near California, close to 46 degrees near the border in northern Mexico. More spots central, northern to northeastern Mexico, some very high temperatures. So stay safe in those areas. In Canada, a similar thing. So it's still cold further northeastern Canada, but much warmer, some 70s and 80s Fahrenheit in Alaska, Central Alaska, and still colder in Nunavut. This goes Wednesday. Does show a few spots colder in northern Quebec still, with that low pressure with some snow in Quebec there showed a few days ago. So Thursday still shows southernmost Canada in the prairies, close to some high 20s degrees Celsius, and still in Alaska there. So Thursday into Friday shows still like these big heat dome spots of the plains in the US, but most of it is contained further south. But this will start leaving some warmer temperatures in Canada too by Saturday into Sunday, close to 31 degrees. Manitoba, warm spots the northwest as well. But during the night, those colder temperatures spots southwestern Canada, in the Rockies, especially some active temperatures, a few spots, and northeastern Canada because of those below average temperatures there. So this goes the show still Tuesday. By next Tuesday, few spots colder, and this pattern will leave some warmer temperatures across not southeastern Canada in the long range too. So be aware those areas, and yeah, so stay safe. There's here for some some spots of wind gusts. Still shows like northern Nunavut into Quebec that snow, some strong winds. So be careful, some damaging winds there too, and that blizzard spots on Nunavut. But does show like spots of Quebec by tomorrow afternoon with that low pressure, some very strong winds central to eastern Quebec. So stay safe near Labrador Sea and more spots in Labrador. So stay safe there. Wednesday and this goes away. Still shows strong winds northeastern US there into southern Canada by Friday, Thursday afternoon and Friday. So this goes into Atlantic Canada. The European still has this weekend some strong winds the Midwest, a few storms, and the Western US, especially like Western US, some higher gusts and some lower pressures in Canada possibly by this week and early next week as well. So we have to watch those areas closely, but there's the GFS as well. So the GFS is some very high gusts northern Newfoundland into Labrador and Quebec by Wednesday and Thursday. So stay safe too. And the GFS has colossal things on Sunday in the plains, but I think it will be further west because the European has it further west too. But stay safe in this low pressure in the plains now. The GFS struggles and with the system causing the severe weather now. So be careful. Those areas does show the European model until Sunday. It does have spots of Alberta, some 124 millimeters, those storms. So stay safe. Spots southwestern Canada there, and also in Ontario, some stronger storms to like 130 millimeters, 114, even Quebec into Labrador, more than 100. So stay safe, those storms, and be careful. There's like snow, northern Nunavut and Quebec shows like a few spots into northeastern Quebec and Labrador next 7 days. And this is something very strange is happening here. This like a summer snowstorm because the show all the way to 62 centimeters of snow on the European model in the mountains in Alberta and more there into Montana and Idaho, into Washington, Oregon, and British Columbia. So the Europeans all the way to 67 centimeters next 5 days. The GFS to 44, 53 centimeters. The icon slightly less there in the mountains, but be careful those areas. Be aware this snow coming. For example, the European has like close to 12 inches in northern Montana next 5 days, so 4 inches in Idaho, spots in Oregon. So be aware those areas possibly, and we'll keep watching. So stay safe and just for context, I don't know what's happening here. So shows like those forecasts, the observations, so the outlooks. So for those temperatures showing like way much below average temperatures, a few spots in the western US and much above average. So this is like a big difference, much below, much above. So be aware, day 8 through 14, still slightly below on the west and slightly above spot to the east. So there's this below average precipitation spot to the east, still shows day 6 through 10 and kind of above in the plains on the west. And later shows mainly above day 8 through 14 and a few spots below. So be aware, those areas we'll keep watching, especially the severe weather today. Be really careful and stay safe, yeah.